Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Dan, the voice behind ThatKaitoDan, and welcome to my review for RWBY Volume 6 Episode 9, Lost. Before we begin, a couple of notices. Firstly, I hope you all had a fantastic Christmas or just a fun December in general, and I also hope you had some great New Year's celebrations to cap off 2018. It's actually because of the New Year festivities that this video came out a day late, as it pretty much left me bedridden for yesterday. But regardless, I wish you all the very best for the new year. 2018 was a bit of a bumpy one for the channel, and for me personally, but it did end with quite the high note as you all helped me reach 5,000 subscribers, which is a landmark I could only dream of reaching before. Truly, from the bottom of my heart, I cannot thank you all enough. You all make this worth it, and without you guys, this channel is nothing. No matter what happens in the future, I will be forever grateful for the accomplishments that you guys helped me reach. So again, thank you so much. But with a new year comes some new art for the channel. A Kingdom Hearts version of myself with custom Keyblade in hand just in time for the upcoming Kingdom Hearts 3 release this month, courtesy of the excellent AC Gears and Arms, who previously made my Persona 5 Phantom Thief artwork. Thanks a ton, man. You should all go and check him out over on his Twitter, which is linked in the description down below, and give him some love as well. And finally, as ever, please make sure you watch the episode that we'll be discussing first through the official sources to support the show and to avoid spoilers. But now let's dive into the first viewer comments section of the year, starting with Leo Arshan, who defended Crow's latest descent into an alcohol-seeking depression, while Lin2 Waterfall mentioned another detail from the last episode that I'm kind of upset I didn't catch myself, that Caroline Cordovan is actually based on the little old woman who lives in a shoe. And finally, Thomas Brennan perfectly summed up how Maria's comment about her old enemy may relate to something that we sometimes experience ourselves. Don't forget to leave your thoughts for this latest episode in the comments down below, and tune in next week to see if they get featured. So the episode leading into the Christmas break left our heroes in quite the pickle. A stubborn roadblock is keeping them grounded, the Juniper lot were not too happy with the information related to Salem and Ozpin, and Jean's outburst resulted in Oscar running away, leaving the others and many of us watching concerned for his safety. But after this break, did I feel RWBY ended 2018 with a bang? Or was it lacking anything worth celebrating? Let's find out. We open with the pair of Emerald and Mercury still at Salem's domain, both of them voicing their displeasure over being left in the dark on Salem's plans, compared to their days with Cinder, where they were often always in the know. But that's not the only thing that's on Emerald's mind, which leads to her asking Mercury what it was exactly that influenced him to join Cinder's group in the first place. Kinda surprised it's taken this long for her to ask this, but either way, Mercury just says that he feels it was fate. The same day he kills his dad, suddenly someone's looking for a guy with his exact skills, so why not jump on board? Not exactly the most deep of reasoning, which sparks up further questions about what he has to gain from working with Salem, if all it took for him to work with Cinder was just perfect timing. His response? Why not if they can be top dogs in this food chain once Salem makes her new world? Which is an interesting way to describe this plan of hers. We don't know what Salem's end goal is, nor how she aims to accomplish it, but this could be our first clue with that new world comment. Is she perhaps still trying to wipe out humanity to replace them with something better, people like herself, just like when she first considered it when she was still with Ozpin? Back on track, being top dogs isn't what motivated Emerald to become Cinder's subordinate. Emerald viewed Cinder as the only family she had, the only person who cared about her after she offered the thief a second chance at a better life. So Emerald did everything that Cinder asked of her to get that happier life and to please the person who saved her. However, with Cinder currently out of the picture, Emerald's starting to feel unsure as to why she should aid Salem when she doesn't really care about the Wicked Witch or her goals, nor does she feel that she's gaining anything as a result. She's even beginning to wonder if what they're doing is right to begin with. At least that's the impression I'm getting before she gets cut off by Mercury. He bluntly says that Cinder did not care for either of them, let alone Emerald, and he wants none of this conflict of interest that she's having right now, if it risks getting in the way of his own goals, so she should wisen up sharpish. Not the best stuff to say to an emotional girl, especially someone who is feeling conflicted over the situation with Cinder. And as a result, the two start trading blows, which also starts to bring to light some much needed insight into Mercury's troubled past and what truly has influenced his life up to this point. While Emerald grew up without any family to give her love, he did have family, his father Marcus. But there was no love from him, only pain. The ex-master assassin raised Mercury to be nothing but a heartless, vicious killer, and to do that, he abused and tormented the kid every day, physically and mentally, including stealing Mercury's semblance with his. Well now, that's a pretty big deal for a multitude of reasons. For one, it's the first time that we've ever heard of such a possibility happening outside of fan theories. You know, kinda like my Oscar semblance theory, wink wink nudge nudge. Secondly, Mercury says that he never got it back despite Marcus being dead. Does that mean that it's possible anyone can permanently lose a semblance despite still being alive? Or is it just something that's exclusive to what Marcus's semblance did to him? We've never seen someone's semblance be negatively affected by another's, let alone it being sealed off from use. But that's quite the heavy element to deal with, considering semblances are a tangible projection of one's aura. It's like Mercury has been living without a piece of his very soul. No wonder the guy's got an attitude. It should give some new insight into why he and Marcus had such a violent end as father and son. And it gives a deeper edge to the lyric in I'm the One that reads, stained by a father. Though yeah, let's actually talk about Mercury's semblance. We've been debating about what it could be and why we've not seen it for such a long time. And now we find out that he can't use it because Marcus thought that it was a detriment that would stop him becoming the assassin that he wanted Mercury to be. So what exactly could it have been for Marcus to deem it a weakness in the first place? It can't be something that would benefit Mercury's combat skills if Marcus viewed it as a crutch. So is it support focused like Jean's, or does it have a huge drawback like Crow's? If I were to hazard an early guess, looking at Mercury's inspiration of the similar named Roman god and his Greek counterpart, Hermes, perhaps it was something that could make him fly, like aura wings, perhaps on his feet. While the extra altitude might be handy for some death from above, perhaps the sight of graceful wings or his son flying through the air did not sit well with the vision of a killer Marcus wanted his son to become. Heck, it could even be why Mercury has prosthetic legs, something that he or Mercury did to make up for the lost power so he could be strong enough to defeat his dad. The well of possibilities is quite deep, but I am at least glad that we're starting to get some clarity to this mystery, as well as some long overdue exploration of Mercury's past, what led to his fight with his father, and why he's willing to do all that he's done in the past, so he can never find himself as weak ever again. And even without his semblance, he's still incredibly skilled, one of the toughest fighters in the series, and he wants to keep being strong. So if being a lackey to someone else can give him that opportunity to stay dominant, so be it. The pair's tussle soon gets halted by the arrival of Tyrion, complete with his now fully upgraded tail, which has metallic plates to protect it from any future slices. And of course, there's the venomous stinger with an extendable tip ready to inject poison into his prey. It looks pretty good, though still not as chilling as the man himself, who sees right through Mercury's words and thinks the lad is just trying to cover up his own insecurities. Tyrion reckons after knowing nothing but violence and hatred, Mercury's too afraid to leave such a world behind, even if he too has doubts and grievances about his current situation. In Tyrion's eyes, Mercury's too scared to try living a normal life, and if he ever admitted it to anyone else, he fears being seen as weak, so he acts tough and brooding to mask his frailties. Regardless of whether that's true or not, he also says the pair have the wrong mindset for this life that they're in. Instead of fretting over what they stand to gain or anything like that, they should be like him, simply enjoying what it is they're doing. I reckon this is just the madman's own way of trying to keep these two in check to appease Salem following her recent demands for no more personal vendettas interfering with her plans, as well as a not-so-subtle threat should they ever attempt to abandon his queen's cause. But he's also here to say goodbye for now, as both he and Watts are heading off to Atlas as they look to stop our heroes from potentially snapping Ironwood out of his dangerous attitude and avoid conflict with the other kingdoms. How they plan to do this, we don't find out. But at least we're getting a small glimpse as to who from the villain side will be pivotal characters in the next volume. Though, does this mean that there's going to be no Emerald, Mercury, or even Hazel during our time in Atlas? What would they be left to deal with if we even see them in the next volume at all? Hopefully these two are not out of the limelight for long, since with Cinder still being in an active role, I'm very curious to see what lies ahead of them after this welcome look into their current emotions and drives. We then switch scenes to Argus, where everyone is on the lookout for the missing Oscar, including the Team Juniper lot and Saffron, who is trying to understand the situation despite being none the wiser about the life or death mission that her brother and friends are stuck with. I bet that hurts having to keep such things a secret from your family. But at least Jean's making it clear that Oscar's not to blame for their recent spat, after hearing just how tough their mission truly is, which inspires Saffron to suggest that maybe they can stay in Argus instead, become licensed huntsmen here and help the world through protecting this city. It's a promising suggestion, but there's a lot that these three need to mull over right now before they can even consider that idea. So they all split up, and Jean has a moment to calm down alone. Cue the Fields train, because in floats a notable autumn leaf, an odd sight in this winter city, and it, along with a familiar tune, draws Jean to a nearby park, and to a statue of Pyrrha. And just like that, my heart broke, and I'm sure I'm not alone in saying that. But no, we can't just have the leaf, the tune from Jean and Pyrrha's touching moment in Volume 3, or the absolutely gut-wrenching memorial. No, we also gotta have another heartstring-tugging song from Jeff and Casey, titled Forever Fall, which utilizes the classic tune as part of its melody for some added heartache. And while this is only a snippet of the full piece, the few lyrics that we do hear really goes for the emotional body blow, with some references to past moments between the Arcos pair, and the overall theme of just how much Pyrrha means to Jean even now. This already had me starting to tear up when I first listened to it in the episode, so God help me when I hear the full version when it's already this beautiful. A fitting somber tune for the tragic pair's relationship and for such a wonderful character. But Jean is not alone. He's then joined by a red-haired, green-eyed woman with the voice of Jen Brown, who has played such roles as Agent Carolina in Red vs. Blue, Erid in Camp Camp, and an iconic role in a little show called RWBY, Lisa Lavender. At long last, we seemingly meet someone from Pyrrha's family, though there is some debate about her that I'll go into in a bit. Turns out this memorial statue is built here because Sanctum Academy, the school that Pyrrha trained at before Beacon, is here in Argus. This could even be where she lived too, and the mystery woman also seems to know who Jean is, given the look she shares his way and the mention of the wonderful people that Pyrrha bonded with at Beacon. Discussing Pyrrha starts to hit at the still open wound in Jean, but the woman starts to lift his spirits, believing that Pyrrha understood the risks that she would be facing at the Fall of Beacon, and that she had a responsibility to try and do what she could in spite of it. Because that's the life of a huntress, something that she always wanted to be. A huntress will undoubtedly face numerous deadly situations as they risk their lives for the sake of protecting others. It's a dangerous job, but someone has to do it. And if you are willing to accept that, if you are willing to do what others cannot, even if it's in vain, then you can say you're doing so without regrets as a true huntress. It's these words that start to lessen the pain on Jean's heart. Now he begins to understand why Pyrrha felt compelled to face Cinder, no matter the odds. She saw the decision placed before her, and knowing that her sacrifice could potentially save Jean and everyone else, she did what she felt she had to do. To Jean, she truly was a huntress in that very moment, even if she never became one officially. She embodied her dream in every way, and Jean sharing this comforts the thankful woman. It's strong words that hit at the core for myself watching, and of course for Jean too. Words that he needed to hear, not just to better process Pyrrha's sacrifice, but to also better direct him on his current conflict regarding if he should continue fighting in this grand battle with Salem. But in the meantime, Ren and Nora then appear looking for him, and in that brief moment of looking away, the mystery woman has vanished, leaving her flowers behind on the memorial. I'm putting all bets on the table right now. That was Pyrrha's mother, 100%. I know the lack of a credited name, the sudden disappearing act, Jen Brown voicing her, and the whole vibe of the scene could suggest that it's something like the spirit of Pyrrha speaking through his aura, or it's a reincarnation or something along those lines, but I just get the sense that it's a chance meeting that is purposely directed the way it is to make this moment feel like it's influenced by Pyrrha even in death. It's by her presence that we get to see her mother and Jean come together, and the young lad can get the comforting push that he truly needed right now to stop letting her death weigh heavy on his heart to the point of destroying him. To those wondering how she may know that it's Jean in that case, well, he was Pyrrha's partner after all. You don't think Pyrrha wouldn't mention him in any letters sent back home, or that her family didn't see him alongside her during the vital tournament? The biggest clue to this being the case is those flowers, a bouquet of red lilies, and lilies in Greek mythology symbolize, among other elements, motherhood. That to me leans this debate heavily to it being her mother, willed to come here just like Jean was, and seeing him grieving before her daughter's statue, like I'm sure she's done plenty of times before, she knew who he was, and she saw that he needed to hear the same things that she likely needed to hear herself to ease the pain. Once he felt better, she then felt that it was time to press on, which is a shame, as I would have liked a moment for these two to talk warmly about Pyrrha and share some memories. But progress has already begun when Jean apologizes to his teammates for his reckless actions in the past, only for Ren and Nora to tell him that this can't go on. He can't keep beating himself up, because they truly love him, just like they love Pyrrha, and to lose another one of their family would hurt even more. Jean, now with a clearer head and a better understanding of Pyrrha's actions, now accepts that she fought Cinder, likely knowing she would die, thus her final parting kiss. But like he discussed with the woman just now, she was a huntress through and through, acting as the only one who could try and make a difference. So instead of mourning their loss, the three of them should live on with her memory and her final moments, inspiring them to fight on as well, like she's still with them, through thick and thin, always. A strong belief that they'll carry together, and the scene does end with Jean offering some thanks to his dear departed partner for once again steering him in the right direction. This was without a doubt a magical moment that I truly loved, wonderfully captured in all departments to truly perfectly embody Pyrrha's legacy, as well as the impact of her death, and why Jean needs to shapen up and not let Pyrrha's death lead him to his own. I adore the callbacks, the soothing words that are shared, the top level performances by both Miles and Jen, and how well this not only aided in Jean's growth, but also as a part of the current conflict that Pyrrha's teammates have in now facing why should they carry on, and why they must press on for the others that they need to fight with, despite the hurdles in their way. And I won't lie, I'd happily accept if this seals the deal on Pyrrha staying dead, and not being brought back somehow in the future. Her death carries so much weight, and her sacrifice has inspired so much change and growth in those affected. If you had asked me right now if I would have her back or let her stay dead, I think after this scene exactly, it would be the perfect tribute to Pyrrha and who she was for her to remain as a memory now at this point, and for her to inspire every single moment to come, to live on through those that she loved and fought for, rather than return to the living. And you think after such a touching, heartwarming moment like that we would be done in this episode, but nope, we still got the matter of the missing Oscar, as well as Ruby and the others dealing with another drunken passed out moment of Crow. Even Yang's starting to get frustrated with her uncle's actions, calling this the worst that she's ever seen him. And when you think of how rough he's been in the past, not to mention the times that Yang saw her dad Tai Yang in a similar shutdown state, that's quite the statement. The good news is the others are back, and Team Juniper cement their dedication to aiding Team RWBY with their mission. Though I kinda like the idea that the end goal for these three could be that they do indeed become pro-huntsmen here in Argus, and they embody Pyrrha's spirit as they protect the city that she came from and the people she inspired. As for the matter on Oscar, well, it turns out he's back at the house, and he's rocking some new duds. First off though, oh god was this a trip for me to get some screen caps of the kids dive bombing the poor farm boy through the door, though it is still quite funny. But more importantly, I quite dig the kid's new look. There's still some parts of his old look which I'm sure is a comfort for him, but the new coat, some more battle-focused accessories, and the overall colour scheme is a nice upgrade. A change of clothes that seems to fit his new mindset. I guess while he was on his own, he took the time to reflect on some of the same concerns that Jean voiced, which, by the way, he rightfully apologizes for, so good job Jean-y. And Oscar decided, instead of wallowing in despair, wondering if he'll ever be his own person again, he'll do whatever he can right now to help the others and the world, for as long as he's able to. I'm of two mindsets with this scene. Not the kid's feelings, in fact I think while it is sad to see him almost give up on trying to still live his own life, I'm glad he's looking to make the most of what he can do now, and he won't weigh the rest of the group down. It's a mature stance for someone who's dealing with such a complicated matter. The issue is, though, how it's presented. Many of us have been hoping to see some development for Oscar, as he's kind of been in a rut since joining the group. And it looked like that this moment away from everyone else was going to be our chance to see what's on his mind and how he overcomes it. Only for it to happen off screen, and Oscar's back having already dealt with the matter, cloves and casserole in hand. I'm not saying I hated what we got, cause it was still charming, and it was a nice reveal too. And we still have a bolder, more stable, grown-up Oscar who's more at peace with his situation, even if it is a painful one to accept. But for what is Oscar's biggest personal challenge to confront with this volume, and when the moment was just right for there to be some moments to explore those concerns with him, I think it would have been better off to see it as it transpired. Sure, it would just be Oscar talking to himself, but at least it would mean that we get to see the unfiltered opinions on his doubts, and we got to see Oscar come to the conclusion himself, rather than us being left wondering what steps he took to get to that point. I doubt this same structure will happen whenever we get his coming together with Ozpin, as the two try to live alongside one another again, since that's such a key moment in both characters' stories. But after this, I hope that future Oscar moments step it up, as this was a bit of a letdown even with its more plus points. But while the kids are feeling much better, there's still the grumpy Uncle Crow, who is having none of the positive mood since they're still no closer to getting the Atlas. However, it seems Jean has a plan, inspired it seems by seeing an airship flying over Pyrrha's statue. With those airships being found at the Nutbeck base being the only way to get into Atlas from outside the kingdom, then regardless of Cordovan's stubbornness, they'll have to muscle on through and steal an airship for themselves. It's one hell of a risky plan, though Nora seems to like it. They'll be facing the might of the Atlesian military, the world's most powerful military force. Even if it is a much smaller fraction of the entire faction, it's not exactly taking on a bunch of Grimm. They fail and they'll be thrown in jail, and that's pretty much the end for any hopes of stopping Salem. Heck, even if they succeed and they steal a ride to Atlas, this would surely have repercussions in Argus and in Atlas. They'll be criminals in the eyes of the military, and I doubt James is in the right mindset at the moment to see this action as just, even if it is involving his colleagues. And there's no telling what this might do for Argus. Cordovan's already got a low opinion of the city, and if a battle takes place here, she could end up taking it out on the locals, including Saffron and Terra. There's also the possibility that the bad guys might get involved as well, be it Cinder and Neo, Adam, or Watson Tyrion. No matter who gets mixed up in things though, there's no way that this is going to go smoothly. And this is exactly the issue that Crow has as he tries to shut down this idea and any intentions from the kids to try and force their mission forward when he feels that it's not worth it. Thankfully, Ruby has had enough of Crow's attitude. She's not giving up when things look bleak. She wants to consider their options and push forward rather than throw in the towel without even bothering to try. And if Crow thinks they can't handle it, she doesn't care, which cuts pretty deep, I imagine, into Crow, seeing his niece, his pupil, the girl who idolizes him, standing so defiant against him. True, there is a bit of a speech that has some holes in it, that being her comment about them not needing an adult all the time to save them. There have been a few times in the past where Crow or other adults have helped them out, but I get the message she's trying to share. Despite their age and lack of experience compared to the older folks, they have overcome so much and they've lasted this long. They're not helpless. They can pull their own weight and make their own decisions. They'll do this their own way just like they have before. And if Crow thinks he can keep up with the same kids that he thinks is not capable of such a task, then he's welcome to join as well. Hot damn! RWBY the leader is well and truly back. This is the RWBY that we felt we'd been missing out on for the last 2 volumes. The driving force that pulls all those around her together and onto their next goal. Even with the previously mentioned bumped in her speech, this is the kind of inspiring moment that she desperately needed to have to embody her role as both the burning light of hope when others are feeling lost, and her role as the show's primary protagonist, pushing the narrative onward. And it's quite fitting too, as she regains the leadership role she pretty much offered to Crow once he took his place amongst the group. It's the brightest she's shined as a character for some time. I also wonder how well this will affect Crow. You would think that after the stuff at the Brunswick Farms, he'd be trying to make up for failing as a leader and an adult figure. But perhaps RWBY taking the wheel from him by force might convince him to smarten up, or at least put in some effort again. Either way, this episode ends with a boldened RWBY and a game plan. The only question now is, what will happen when the plan is in action? Overall, I have to say that this is quite the wonderful episode, full of emotional highs, though sadly there are a few lows that do hold it back from being a near perfect episode. My sadness over how Oscar's recovery was handled does drop some points in the episode's favour, and there are some dialogue decisions that isn't quite as smooth or as strong as the rest of it, like the aforementioned not needing help from the adults line. But even so, it doesn't completely overshadow the many glowing points that this episode contains. While missing out on Oscar's growth was a shame, the steps that Jean and RWBY took to improve their characters was truly exceptional. The scene at Pyrrha's memorial is the clear highlight, with this powerful use of the deceased character's legacy to inspire change, and the overall composition of the scene was dripping with a soothing, humbling comfort to it that made the tender moment all the more sweeter, capping off the young knight's grief arc in a satisfying manner. We also got some fascinating insight into Mercury and some seeds planted for further drama to come from him and Emerald's narrative. And throughout the entire episode, the use of music was superb, the visuals on point with quality lighting and camera angles, and in amongst a wide array of stellar voice acting performances, massive credit needs to go to the likes of Miles, Josh, and Yuri. Though the gold star of the episode, I feel, definitely has to go to the returning Jen Brown for her emotional, moving performance that had my fullest attention, and it did have me tearing up the moment she spoke. So while not the smoothest of episodes to end 2018, I still feel that it was an overall fantastic chapter that, while it didn't move the plot forward, it sure did move some character narratives forward, with one of the most emotion-packed entries in the volume so far. A few things could have been ironed out or better delivered, but as we move on to the closing conflict of the volume, it definitely did leave the year with more than enough to be joyful for. But those are my thoughts. Make sure you tell me yours in the comments down below. Who do you think the mystery woman is? What's your feelings on Oscar's situation and how it was dealt with? And what do you think may happen at the Atlas base? Let me know in the comments down below, and while you're at it, hit the subscribe and bell button to make sure you get every new video from me as they drop, and follow me on Twitter at ThatKaitoDan for more on all things RWBY, updates on future content, and more. But until next time, have a good day or good night, and peace out.